Bismillah, salatu wassalam ala Rasulullah. What is innovation, bid'ah, and is new always better? When it comes to the worldly things, new often means better because it builds on experience and makes life easier. But when it comes to belief and worship, we require originality, acts and set rules that don't change. Truth should never evolve. 2 plus 2 should always be 4. That's why when the Prophet gave a recommendation concerning what he found the Arabs doing in terms of pollination and innovation related to plants, they thought it was law. So he said, Antum a'lam bi umuri dunyakum minni. No, this is not law. You know better in terms of pollination. It means you have more knowledge in terms of your worldly affairs. So innovation means introducing something new in the religion that has no basis from Quran or Sunnah. And that is why the Prophet said, Man ahdatha fi amrina hadha ma laysa minhu fahuwa raddun. When you see kullu bid'atin dalalah wa kullu dalalatin fin nar, it means things pertaining to the religion, things pertaining to Aqidah. If you remember, we have 2 conditions before Allah accepts an act of worship. The first one is sincerity, ikhlas, doing it for the sake of Allah. The second one is how you do it. And the how is going to the Prophet ﷺ to teach us how to do it. This stands to reason because if I invite you to a big event I'm having and send a messenger to you, you require that messenger to come to you to tell you the instructions, what to wear, what to say when you get to the gate, when the event is going to happen. All this instruction, you must follow it to the letter. Go to the Prophet ﷺ to get those instructions because he is the messenger sent by Allah. When it comes to the worldly matter, the door is quite open. You can do basically anything you want to do, and that is why they say al-aslu fil ashya al-ibaha al-hillu. When it comes to worldly matters, things of permissibility, virtually everything in that regard is permissible, except for the few listed exceptions. When it comes to food, everything is permissible, except for few things mentioned in the Quran or Sunnah, like pork or dead meat. When it comes to business relation, everything is permissible, except for example, few things listed like riba, interest transactions. When it comes to worship and aqidah, there must be some origin, things that don't change. Allah does not change in his essence or his right to be worshipped. He does not command people on the first day to worship him alone as the self-sufficient, ever-living, and then centuries later introduce a son, partners, saints, or intermediaries to be worshipped alongside him. This in regards to fundamental stuff. There might be changes in terms of some fundamental things, contextual parameters, whether time or place. For example, our father Adam, the law as regards to marriage is quite different from the law as regards to how we marry today because the humanity at that time were quite few. So marriage is going to be different from how we marry in terms of who you marry. And we also have situational parameters. You are able to eat dead meat in the middle of the desert at the brink of death because you have no option. So something that is impermissible could be permissible for that situation. Or it could be the law of gradualism. Allah forbidding alcohol after gradual processes from point A to point B so that it will be easy for the Muslims, the first generation of Muslims, to accept it. To change is something that has been very much ingrained in them. The point I'm trying to make is when it comes to the modern affairs, new is always better. Technology being what it is, making life easier. But when it comes to our relationship with Allah in terms of worship and aqidah, then we require originality. And one of the fundamentals, just as it is important to give Allah's rights as one of the conditions of worship, the same goes for giving the Prophet ﷺ his rights, as it goes to obeying and following him. Allah mentioned, فَلْيَحْذَرِ الَّذِينَ يُخَالِفُونَ عَنْ أَمْرِهِ أَنْ يُصِيبَهُمْ فِتْنَةٌ أَوْ يُصِيبَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. those who oppose the Prophet ﷺ, it's quite soon for them that the punishment will hit them. And not just a punishment, a foreboding, everlasting punishment. وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم ثم لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما. Allah saw that a person has no belief, even if he claims to be a believer. Whether he does not follow the Prophet ﷺ, he does not go to him in terms of business relation, in terms of worship, in terms of how you relate with your neighbor, in terms of how you relate with your parent and children, everything. And then whatever order you give, whatever rule you give, they should accept it wholeheartedly. It's clear that it's it's obligatory to follow the Prophet ﷺ. Let's mention the 6 aspects in which this conformity is required. 1. As-sabab, the reason. What you must do should be in conformity to the reason the Prophet ﷺ did. Praying 2 raka'at is a good thing, but you shouldn't just pray 2 raka'at because it's mid-Sha'aban, the middle of the month. That is not the same sabab, reason the Prophet prays 2 raka'at. Number 2, as it pertains to jins, the type. What this means is, of animal we are allowed to slaughter for Eid festives. Definitely, horse is not part of it. So slaughtering a horse means you do not conform with the Prophet in terms of that worship. 3, added. Praying 4 raka'at is what we know for Asr, Zuhur and Isha prayer. Someone shouldn't pray 5 raka'at and say he does it because he wants the extra reward. That means he's not doing it in conformity with the Prophet. 5, kayfiyya, how he does it, the manner in terms of how he did it. So if you are to start doing wudu, you start with your hands, not with your legs. If you start with your legs, you are opposing the Prophet ﷺ. The 5th is az-zaman, the time itself. When did he do the form of worship you are trying to do? For example, slaughtering an animal before Eid prayer makes it invalid. Lastly, makan, the place itself. Someone who does pilgrimage in his house will not be accepted because pilgrimage is not done in your house or in your country, but it's done in Mecca. So these are the 6 aspects that an act must have to conform with the Prophet ﷺ to be valid and accepted. So remember this, innovation in the dunya can help you, but when it comes to your relationship with Allah, the original way is the only way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.